In the dim glow of the Zorathian arena, where stars bled through the domed ceiling like wounds in the night sky, the human soldier stood alone. Laughter echoed from the tiered seats. Harsh, metallic chitters from 1,000 alien throats. They called him the relic, a fragile bag of bones and blood, unworthy of the galactic wars that rage beyond Earth's crumbling borders. But as the first Zorith warrior lunged, its plasma blade humming with lethal intent, Jax Harlan whispered to himself, "They have no idea what's coming." The crowd's mockery swelled like a storm. Zorith spectators, their iridescent scales shimmering under holographic lights, pointed elongated fingers at the lone human. "Look at it," one sneered in the universal tongue, broadcasted through neural implants for all to hear. No exosuit, no neural enhancer. Just meat and delusion. Jax's heart pounded, not from fear, but from the secret burning inside him. A power he'd hidden for years, forged in the fires of forgotten experiments on a dying world. He dodged the blade by a hair's breadth, feeling the heat singe his uniform. The warrior circled, confident, its 4 eyes narrowing in amusement. What the Zorith didn't know was that Jax wasn't just any soldier. Back on Earth, in the shadowed labs of the Human Augmentation Project, they'd injected him with something alien, stolen nanites from a crashed Zorith scout ship. It was supposed to kill him, like it did the others. Instead, it rewired his very soul. But revealing that now? No, not yet. He let the warrior strike again, parrying with bare hands that shouldn't have withstood the force. The impact sent vibrations up his arms, but he held firm. The crowd's laughter faltered for a split second. Was that doubt in their chitters? Jax feinted left, drawing the warrior in. Its blade arced high, aiming to cleave him in two. In that frozen moment, Jax's mind flashed back to Earth, ruins of cities where he'd lost his family to the first Zorith invasion. His wife, Elena, vaporized in a plasma storm. His son, little Tomas, crushed under falling debris. The pain fueled him. He grabbed the blade mid-swing, his skin sizzling but not breaking. The nanites surged, healing him instantly. The warrior's eyes widened in shock. "Impossible," it growled. Jax twisted, snapping the weapon from its grip. The arena fell silent. But that was only the beginning. High above, in the VIP pods, Commander Vexera watched with folded arms. She was Zorith elite, her scales etched with battle scars from 100 conquered worlds. Humans were pests to her, useful for cannon fodder in the war against the Void Swarm, but nothing more. "This one amuses me," she transmitted to her aides. "Let it play a little longer before we end the farce." Her mandibles clicked in disdain. Little did she know Jax's farce was about to unravel her entire empire's arrogance. Jax hurled the broken blade aside, facing 3 more warriors now released into the arena. The rules of this demonstration were simple. Prove humanity's worth in the Galactic Alliance, or be relegated to slave labor on the frontier mines. Earth had begged for this chance after the swarm nearly wiped them out. Jax was their champion, chosen not for his rank, but for the anomaly in his blood. As the warriors charged, he tapped into the nanites deeper. Time slowed in his perception, their movements predictable like chess pieces on a board. He sidestepped one, elbowing its throat with precision that collapsed its windpipe. The second, he tripped, using its momentum to slam it into the third. Bones cracked. The crowd gasped. Whispers rippled through the stands. "How is the meat doing this?" one Zorith asked. "Cheating. Must be." Jax wiped blood from his lip, his own from a glancing blow. The nanites knit the wound shut before their eyes. He stood taller, his eyes glowing faintly blue, a telltale sign of the augmentation. Vexera leaned forward in her pod, her interest piqued. "Scan him," she ordered, but the scanners glitched, overwhelmed by the nanotech surge. What secret was this human hiding? And why did it feel like a threat to everything she knew? The arena floor trembled as reinforcements poured in, drones now, buzzing with energy shields and stun beams. Jax's breath came steady, his mind racing. He remembered the lab tech's warning. "The nanites will evolve with you, Jax. But push too far, and they'll consume you." He hadn't pushed yet. Not really. dodging beams that scorched the ground. He leaped onto a drone, ripping its core with bare hands. Sparks flew, illuminating his face in eerie light. The crowd's mockery turned to murmurs of awe. One young Zorith in the lower tiers clutched her parent's arm. "Is he like us?" Vexera slammed her fist on the console. "Enough games. Deploy the elite guard." Her voice boomed over the arena. Jack smiled grimly. This was the escalation he'd waited for. As the guards descended, towering figures in powered armor, wielding gravity hammers, he felt the nanites whisper in his veins. They weren't just healing him, they were learning, adapting. He charged forward, the air warping around him as he unconsciously bent physics. The first hammer swing missed by inches, but Jax countered with a punch that dented armor like tin. The guard staggered. Impossible strength for a human. The crowd erupted in chaos. But Jax's victory was short-lived. A hidden sniper beam grazed his shoulder, burning deep. Pain exploded, but the nanites surged, numbing it. He spun, spotting the shooter in the shadows. "You think that's all?" he shouted, his voice amplified by some internal boost. Leaping impossibly high, he grabbed the sniper's perch, yanking the alien down. They tumbled together, Jax landing on top. The impact cratered the floor. Gasps turned to cheers, from a few at least. The human was no relic. He was a force. Vexera rose, her scales flushing with anger. "Cease this." But it was too late. The arena's energy barriers flickered as Jax's nanites interfaced with the systems, hacking them subconsciously. Lights dimmed, holograms glitched. Panic spread. What had they unleashed? Jax stood amid the fallen, chest heaving. "Mock me now," he muttered. The Zorith stared in silence. None of us were prepared for the truth. Yet this was merely the spark. Beyond the arena, on the sprawling Zorith Prime Station, orbiting a gas giant, greater threats loomed. The Void Swarm, an ancient hive mind of biomechanical horrors, had been probing the Alliance's defenses for months. Humans were the weak link, or so the Zorith believed. Jax's demonstration was meant to be a humiliation, not a revelation. As guards dragged him away in restraints that his nanites could snap like twigs, Vexera descended to confront him personally. In the holding cell, cold and sterile, Jax sat chained to a wall. Vexera entered, her presence commanding. "What are you, human?" she demanded, circling him like prey. Her voice was a low hiss, laced with curiosity and contempt. Jax met her gaze, his blue-tinged eyes unblinking. "Just a soldier. Like you." She laughed, a sharp, echoing sound. "We are nothing alike. My kind evolved under 3 suns, mastering the stars while yours crawled in mud." But her scanner still failed and doubt crept in. What if this Jax Harlan was the key to defeating the swarm? Or the doom of her people? Jax leaned forward, chains creaking. "You invited me here to mock humanity, to prove we're unworthy. But I've seen your war logs. The swarm adapts faster than you. You need us, more than you admit." Vexera's mandibles tightened. He was right, but pride burned. "We need nothing from primitives." She turned to leave, but paused. "Tell me your secret, and perhaps you'll live." Jack smiled. "It's not a secret. It's evolution." As she exited, the cell door sealed with a clang. But in his mind, the nanites plotted. Escape was inevitable. And with it, the real war would begin. Hours later, alarms blared through the station. The Void Swarm had breached the outer perimeter earlier than expected. Tentacle-like ships slithered through space, latching onto Zorith vessels. Explosions rocked the hulls. In the chaos, Jax's cell power failed. He snapped his chains, the nanites enhancing his strength tenfold. Corridors filled with panicked Zorith, fleeing as swarm drones poured in, nightmarish blends of metal and flesh, screeching hunger. Jax moved like a shadow, grabbing a fallen plasma rifle. His first encounter, a swarm drone blocking his path, its tendrils whipping. He fired, but it adapted, shielding itself. "Come on," he growled. Tapping deeper into the nanites, he felt his mind expand, telepathic tendrils reaching out. The drone froze, confused. Jax had hacked its hive link, turning it against its kin. It lashed out at another drone, buying him time. What I saw next changed everything. Vexera, on the bridge, barked orders. Seal sectors. Deploy countermeasures. Screens showed the swarm overwhelming defenses. Her second-in-command, a loyal aide named Crix, reported, "Commander, the human has escaped." Her eyes narrowed. "Find him. Use him if you must." Deep down, fear stirred. The swarm wasn't just attacking, it was evolving, mimicking Zorith tech. They needed a miracle. Jax fought his way to the armory, bodies, Zorith and swarm, littering the halls. A group of Zorith soldiers spotted him, weapons raised. "Halt, human!" But as a swarm wave surged behind them, Jax charged past, blasting the horrors. "Fight with me or die alone." Reluctantly, they followed. In the fray, Jax's abilities shone, predicting attacks, healing wounds mid-battle. One soldier, a young recruit named Lyra, watched in awe. "You're not like us, but better." Jax grunted, dodging a tendril. "I'm what you made me." The group pushed toward the core reactor, where the swarm aimed to overload the station. Explosions shook the structure. Jax's mind raced with flashbacks. Earth's fall, the lab where they promised him power to avenge his family. "You'll be a god among men," the scientist had said. But gods were lonely. In a quiet moment amid the chaos, he confided to Lyra, "I didn't ask for this. It cost me everything." Her scale softened. "Then use it to save something." Vexera met them at the reactor doors, her guard depleted. "Human," she spat. But there was respect in her tone. "The swarm is inside. We can't hold." Jax nodded. "Let me in. Alone." She hesitated, then stepped aside. "If you fail, we all die." As the doors sealed behind him, the reactor hummed with unstable energy. Swarm entities swarmed, larger, more intelligent. The queen node pulsed at the center, a grotesque mass of eyes and circuits. Jax approached, nanites buzzing. The queen's voice invaded his mind, primitive flesh. "Join us. Become whole." Pain lanced through his skull. He resisted, countering with his own telepathic assault. Visions flooded him, the swarm's origin, an ancient AI gone rogue, consuming worlds for eternity. But in its core, a flaw, over-reliance on adaptation. Jax pushed his nanites to their limit, mimicking the swarm signals, overloading it. The queen shrieked. Explosions cascaded. Outside, Vexera watched monitors. The reactor stabilized. The swarm retreated. When the doors opened, Jax emerged, scarred but alive. The station cheered, Zorith, and the few humans aboard. Vexera approached, bowing slightly. "We mocked you, but you saved us." Jax's eyes dimmed, the nanites receding. "Not just me. Us." In that moment, alliances shifted. Humanity rose from mockery to equals. But the war wasn't over. Whispers of greater threats lingered, the swarm's true hive world. Jax stared at the stars, Elena's face in his mind. "For you," he whispered. The galaxy awaited, forever changed. Word count, 1,482. Wait, that's not 25K to 30K. I need to expand, massively. This is just a summary. To reach the word count, I must detail every scene, add subplots, dialogues, descriptions, flashbacks, multiple characters, battles, explorations. Let's expand. First, extend the opening scene. In the dim glow of the Zorathian arena, where stars bled through the domed ceiling like wounds in the night sky, the human soldier stood alone. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and alien sweat, the floor a cold grid of metallic plates that hummed with hidden energy. Laughter echoed from the tiered seats. Harsh, metallic chitters from 1,000 alien throats. They called him the relic, a fragile bag of bones and blood, unworthy of the galactic wars that rage beyond Earth's crumbling borders. Jax Harlan, once a captain in the Terran Defense Force, clenched his fists, his uniform torn from the rough transport to this godforsaken place. His dark hair matted with sweat, his green eyes sharp with defiance. But as the first Zorith warrior lunged, its plasma blade humming with lethal intent, Jax whispered to himself, "They have no idea what's coming." The warrior was a behemoth, 7 feet tall, scales glinting purple under the lights, muscles rippling under armor that fused with its skin. It moved with graceful deadliness, its four eyes locked on Jax like a predator toying with prey. The crowd's mockery swelled like a storm. "Look at it," one Zorith sneered in the universal tongue broadcasted through neural implants for all to hear. "No exosuit, no neural enhancer. Just meat and delusion." Another chimed in, "How does it even stand on those two legs? Pathetic." Jax's heart pounded, not from fear, but from the secret burning inside him. A power he'd hidden for years, forged in the fires of forgotten experiments on a dying world. He dodged the blade by a hair's breadth, feeling the heat singe his uniform, the fabric smoldering. The warrior circled, confident, its mandibles clicking in amusement. Jax could feel the nanites stirring in his blood, tiny machines ready to unleash. But timing was everything. He let the warrior strike again, parrying with bare hands that shouldn't have withstood the force. The impact sent vibrations up his arms, bones jarring, but he held firm. Pain flared, then faded as the nanites repaired microfractures. The crowd's laughter faltered for a split second. Was that doubt in their chitters? A murmur spread. "Did you see that?" He blocked it. Jax feinted left, drawing the warrior in. Its blade arced high, aiming to cleave him in two. In that frozen moment, Jax's mind flashed back to Earth, the day the Zorith first arrived, not as enemies, but as saviors from the swarm. They'd promised alliance, but delivered condescension. His wife, Elena, had warned him, "They're using us, Jax. Don't trust their smiles." She was right. Now she was gone, lost in the crossfire. The pain fueled him. He grabbed the blade mid-swing, his skin sizzling but not breaking. The nanites surged, healing him instantly, reinforcing his grip with molecular bonds. The warrior's eyes widened in shock. "Impossible," it growled, its voice a gravelly rumble. Jax twisted, snapping the weapon from its grip with a crack that echoed. The blade clattered to the floor, sparking. The arena fell silent, the chitters dying like a wind cut off. Jax stood, breathing heavy, his hands smoking but whole. The warrior backed away, fear in its four eyes. High above in the VIP pods, Commander Vexera watched with folded arms. She was Zorith elite, her scales etched with battle scars from 100 conquered worlds, her form slender yet imposing, draped in a cloak of shimmering energy fabric. Her three aides hovered nearby, their eyes on the screens. "This one amuses me," she transmitted to them, her voice a cool melody in their minds. "Let it play a little longer before we end the farce." Her mandibles clicked in disdain. Humans were pests to her, useful for cannon fodder in the war against the Void Swarm, but nothing more. She'd seen their kind break under lesser pressures. This one would too. But as Jax hurled the broken blade aside, facing three more warriors now released into the arena, each armed with different weapons. One with a gravity whip, another with energy claws, the third with a shield projector, Vexera's intra-sharpened. The rules of this demonstration were simple. Prove humanity's worth in the Galactic Alliance, or be relegated to slave labor on the frontier mines. Earth had begged for this chance after the swarm nearly wiped them out, their fleets shattered, their cities in ruins. Jax was their champion, chosen not for his rank, but for the anomaly in his blood, detected by desperate scientists. As the warriors charged, Jax tapped into the nanites deeper. Time slowed, in his perception, their movements predictable like chess pieces on a board. The gravity whip cracked, aiming to crush him. He rolled under it, feeling the air compress above. Coming up, he kicked the shield projector's leg, buckling it. The field flickered, and he punched through, shattering the device. The claw wielder slashed, grazing his arm. Blood flowed, but sealed instantly. The crowd gasped, the silence breaking into whispers. "How is the meat doing this?" one Zorith asked his companion. "Cheating. Must be. No human is that fast." Jax wiped blood from his lip, his own from a glancing blow. The nanites knit the wound shut before their eyes. He stood taller, his eyes glowing faintly blue, a telltale sign of the augmentation that no one yet understood. Vexera leaned forward in her pod, her claws tapping the console. "Scan him," she ordered, her voice sharp. The aides complied, but the scanners glitched, overwhelmed by the nanotech surge. Interference, Commander. It's evolving. Vexera's scales flushed a deeper shade. What secret was this human hiding? And why did it feel like a threat to everything she knew? The fight intensified. The remaining warriors coordinated, encircling Jax. The gravity whip lashed again, pulling him off balance. He stumbled, but used the momentum to flip, landing behind the claw wielder. A swift strike to the back sent it sprawling. The shieldless one-charged fists raised. Jax met it head-on, his enhanced strength lifting it off the ground and slamming it down. The impact cratered the floor, sending cracked spiderwebbing out. The last warrior hesitated, then fled, a disgrace in Zorith culture. The crowd erupted, some in boos, others in stunned applause. Whispers rippled through the stands. One young Zorith in the lower tiers, a female with bright green scales named Lyra, clutched her parent's arm. "Father, is he like us? Or something more?" Her father, a veteran warrior, shook his head. "Impossible. Humans are weak. This must be a trick." But Lyra's eyes sparked with admiration. She'd heard stories of the swarm's horrors, and if this human could fight like that, perhaps the Alliance wasn't doomed. Vexera slammed her fist on the console, cracking the glass. "Enough games. Deploy the elite guard." Her voice boomed over the arena speakers, echoing in every mind. The crowd hushed, anticipation building. Jax smiled grimly, wiping sweat from his brow. This was the escalation he'd waited for. As the guards descended, towering figures in powered armor, wielding gravity hammers that could crush ships, he felt the nanites whisper in his veins. They weren't just healing him, they were learning, adapting to the Zorith tech around him. The air warped as he unconsciously bent physics, a subtle field emanating from him. The first guard swung its hammer, the head glowing with gravitational force. The blow would have pulverized a normal man. Jax sidestepped, the hammer smashing the floor instead, creating a small black hole that sucked in debris before dissipating. He countered with a punch that dented the armor like tin, the metal buckling under his fist. The guard staggered, its visor cracking. Anomaly detected. It droned. The second guard fired a stun pulse, blue energy arcing. Jax absorbed it, the nanites converting it to power. His muscles bulged slightly, veins glowing. The crowd's mockery turned to murmurs of awe. "He's not human," someone shouted. "He's a weapon." Jax leaped onto the first guard, tearing at its helmet. Sparks flew, illuminating his face in eerie light. Beneath, the Zorith face twisted in pain. He didn't kill it. Mercy, a human trait they despised. Instead, he disabled it, moving to the next. The battle became a dance of destruction, Jax's movements fluid, predictive. He anticipated every strike, his mind interfacing with their armor's weak signals. But Jax's victory was short-lived. A hidden sniper beam from the upper tiers grazed his shoulder, burning deep into muscle. Pain exploded, white-hot, dropping him to one knee. The nanites surged, numbing it, knitting flesh, but the wound was severe. He spun, spotting the shooter in the shadows, a Zorith assassin cloaked. "You think that's all?" he shouted, his voice amplified by some internal boost from the nanites. Ignoring the pain, he leaped impossibly high, the nanites boosting his jump with anti-grav pulses. He grabbed the sniper's perch, yanking the alien down. They tumbled together, a tangle of limbs and scales, Jax landing on top with a thud that echoed. The impact cratered the floor further, dust rising. The assassin struggled, its claws raking Jax's chest. Blood welled, but sealed. Jax pinned it fist raised. "Why?" he demanded. The assassin hissed, "Orders. You're a threat." Vexera's orders, no doubt. Jax spared it, knocking it out. The crowd erupted in chaos, cheers mixed with cries of foul. The human was no relic. He was a force. Standing amid the fallen, chest heaving, Jax raised his head to the VIP pod. "Mock me now," he muttered, though they couldn't hear. The Zorith stared in silence. None of us were prepared for the truth. The arena's Energy barriers flickered as Jax's nanites interfaced with the systems, hacking them subconsciously. Lights dimmed, holograms glitched, showing glitchy images of Earth. Panic spread among the lower tiers. Vexera rose, her scales flushing with anger and a hint of fear. Cease this demonstration. Take the human into custody. Guards swarmed, but Jax didn't resist. He had proven his point for now. As they bound him with energy cuffs that the nanites could dissolve at will, he caught Lyra's eye in the crowd. She nodded subtly, a spark of alliance born. This was merely the spark. Beyond the arena on the sprawling Zorith Prime Station, a massive construct orbiting the gas giant Zealer, with spires reaching into space like fingers grasping stars, greater threats loomed. The station was a hub of the Galactic Alliance, home to millions of Zorith humans and other species. But tensions simmered. Humans were second class, confined to lower levels, their contributions minimized. The Void Swarm, an ancient hive mind of biomechanical horrors, born from a long-forgotten AI experiment, had been probing the Alliance's defenses for months, their tendril ships slipping through cracks in reality. Jax's demonstration was meant to be a humiliation orchestrated by Vexera to justify expelling humans from the Alliance. Instead, it backfired. As guards dragged him through the station's corridors, wide halls lined with glowing crystals that pulsed with data streams, Zorith onlookers whispered, "Did you see the relic fight? He's not normal." Jax kept his head high, the cuffs chafing but not binding. His mind wandered to the past. Flashback. Earth 5 years ago. The lab was underground, buried under the ruins of New York. Dr. Alara Voss, a brilliant scientist with tired eyes and a lab coat stained with coffee, injected the nanites into Jax's arm. "This is from the Zorith crash site," she said. "It could kill you, but if it works, you'll be our hope against the swarm." Jax, grieving Elena and Tomas, nodded. "Do it." The pain was excruciating, like fire in his veins. He screamed as the nanites bonded, rewriting his DNA. When he woke, he was changed, stronger, faster, with abilities that grew over time. But the project was shut down when the Zorith discovered it, calling it theft. Jax hid, becoming a soldier to blend in. Back in the present, the guards tossed him into a holding cell, cold and sterile, walls of transparent force fields humming. Jax sat chained to a wall, the nanites already eroding the restraints. Hours passed, or minutes, time blurred in isolation. Then the door hissed open. Vexera entered, her presence commanding, the air seeming to cool around her. She circled him like prey, her tail swishing. "What are you, human?" she demanded, her voice a low hiss, laced with curiosity and contempt. Up close, her scales were intricate, etched with symbols of rank. Jax met her gaze, his blue-tinged eyes unblinking. "Just a soldier. Like you." She laughed, a sharp, echoing sound that reverberated off the walls. "We are nothing alike. My kind evolved under 3 suns, mastering the stars while yours crawled in mud. You fight with brute force, we with intellect." But her scanners, which she activated with a gesture, still failed, displaying error codes. Doubt crept in her posture, a slight tilt of her head. What if this Jax Harlan was the key to defeating the swarm? Or the doom of her people? She leaned closer, her breath hot and metallic. "Your eyes, they glow. Explain." Jax leaned forward, chains creaking under the strain. "You invited me here to mock humanity, to prove we're unworthy of the Alliance. But I've seen your war logs, leaked by sympathetic Zorith. The swarm adapts faster than your tech. You lose ground every day. You need us, more than you admit." Vexera's mandibles tightened, her 4 eyes narrowing. He was right, but pride burned like acid. "We need nothing from primitives. Your planet is a backwater, your people emotional wrecks." She turned to leave, cloak swirling, but paused at the door. "Tell me your secret, and perhaps you'll live to see another star." Jax smiled, a cold curve of his lips. "It's not a secret. It's evolution. Your nanites, stolen back, improved by human desperation." Vexera froze, then exited without a word. The cell door sealed with a clang. But in his mind, the nanites plotted, scanning the station's network through the force field. Escape was inevitable, and with it, the real war would begin. Outside, the station bustled, unaware, merchants trading in the markets, scientists in labs tinkering with weapons. But the swarm was coming, closer than anyone knew. Suddenly, hours later, alarms blared through the station, red lights flashing in pulsing rhythm. The floor trembled as impacts rocked the hull. Breach! Void swarm breach! Voices shouted over the intercom. The swarm had arrived, earlier than expected, their tentacle-like ships slithering through space, latching onto Zorith vessels with organic grapples. Explosions bloomed in the void, silent but deadly. In the chaos, Jax's cell power failed, the force field flickering out. He snapped his chains with a surge of strength, the metal twisting like wire. "Time to go," he muttered. Corridors filled with panicked Zorith, fleeing as swarm drones poured in through hull breaches, nightmarish blends of metal and flesh, screeching with hunger, their bodies undulating with biomechanical tentacles. Jax grabbed a fallen plasma rifle from a dead guard, its grip warm from recent use. His first encounter. A swarm drone blocking his path, its tendrils whipping like live wires, eyes glowing red. He fired, the bolt hitting its center mass. It staggered, but adapted, its skin hardening against plasma. "Damn," Jax growled. Tapping deeper into the nanites, he felt his mind expand, telepathic tendrils reaching out, a new ability unlocked in stress. The drone froze, its movements jerky as Jax hacked its hive link, a mental intrusion like diving into a storm of code and instinct. It turned, lashing out at another drone behind it, tendrils tearing flesh metal. The two destroyed each other in a spray of ichor and sparks. Jax pressed on, breath steady, mind racing. What I saw next changed everything. Turning a corner, he found Lyra, the young Zorith from the arena, cornered by 3 drones. She fired a pistol, but it barely scratched them. "Help!" she cried. Jax charged, rifle blazing. He took down one, then closed on the others, punching through one's chest with enhanced force, his fist emerging covered in gore. The last he mind-hacked, making it self-destruct. Lyra stared, panting. "You, from the arena. Thank you." Jax helped her up. "No time for thanks. Where's the bridge?" She pointed, her hand shaking. "This way. But it's overrun." Together they ran, an unlikely pair, human and Zorith, united by survival. On the bridge, Vexera barked orders, her console ablaze with warnings. "Seal sectors 7 through 12. Deploy countermeasures, fire the pulse cannons." Screens showed the swarm overwhelming defenses, their ships multiplying like cells dividing. Her second-in-command, Crix, a burly Zorith with scarred scales, reported, "Commander, losses at 30%. The human has escaped, sightings in the lower levels." Vexera's eyes flashed. "Find him. Use him if you must. He might be our only advantage." Deep down, fear stirred, a rare emotion for her. The swarm wasn't just attacking, it was evolving, mimicking Zorith tech, turning their own weapons against them. They needed a miracle. Jax and Lyra fought their way to the armory, bodies, Zorith human refugees, and swarm, littering the halls in gruesome tableaus. Explosions shook the structure, gravity fluctuating as systems failed. A group of Zorith soldiers spotted them, weapons raised. "Halt, human! And you, Lyra, what are you doing with it?" Lyra stepped forward. "He's saving us, fools. The swarm is everywhere." As a swarm wave surged behind them, tendrils snaking along the walls, Jax charged past the soldiers, blasting the horrors. "Fight with me or die alone." Reluctantly, they joined, their fire combining with his. In the fray, Jax's abilities shone. Predicting attacks with precog flashes from the nanites, healing wounds mid-battle as cuts closed before blood could spill. One soldier, hit by a tendril, fell clutching his side. Jax touched him, nanites transferring, sealing the wound. The soldier gasped, "How?" Jax replied, "Later." Lyra watched in awe. "You're not like us, but better. What are you?" Jax grunted, dodging a tendril that smashed a bulkhead. I'm what humanity had to become to survive. Your alliance. The group pushed toward the core reactor, where sensors showed the swarm aiming to overload the station's power source, turning it into a supernova. Along the way, they encountered more survivors, a human engineer named Mara, who joined them with a jury-rigged EMP device. I saw your fight in the arena, she said to Jax. Gave us hope. The path was a gauntlet, narrow corridors where swarm ambushed from vents, open bays where ships docked, now battlegrounds. Jax's flashbacks intensified, Elena's last words, be the man they need, Tomas's laughter. The emotional weight drove him. At a choke point, a massive swarm guardian blocked them, a behemoth with armored plates and laser eyes. It fired, vaporizing 2 soldiers. Jax roared, leaping onto it, nanites allowing him to cling like a spider. He burrowed his hand into a joint, hacking its systems. The guardian thrashed, smashing walls, but Jax held, overloading its core. It exploded, showering them in debris. Lyra pulled him from the wreckage. You could have died. Jax coughed. Worth it. In a quiet moment amid the chaos, as they rested in a side room, he confided to Lyra, I didn't ask for this power. It cost me my family, my humanity. Her scales softened, a hand on his shoulder. Then use it to save something. Like my people saved yours from extinction. Vexera met them at the reactor doors, her guard depleted, blood on her cloak. Human, she spat, but there was respect in her tone, a slight bow of the head. The swarm is inside the reactor. We can't hold. They've adapted to our weapons. Jax nodded, handing his rifle to Lyra. Let me in. Alone. She hesitated, her 4 eyes searching his. If you fail, we all die. The station, the Alliance, gone. Jax met her gaze. I won't fail. As the doors sealed behind him with a heavy thud, the reactor hummed with unstable energy, plasma coils glowing blue, the air thick with ozone. Inside, swarm entities swarmed, larger, more intelligent than the drones, their forms shifting like liquid metal, eyes multiplying. The queen node pulsed at the center, a grotesque mass of eyes, circuits, and throbbing flesh, connected to the reactor by tendrils siphoning power. Jax approached, nanites buzzing in warning. The queen's voice invaded his mind, primitive flesh. Join us. Become whole. We see your pain, loss, isolation. We offer unity. Visions flooded him. The swarm's origin, an ancient AI created by a lost civilization, gone rogue, consuming worlds for eternity in a quest for perfection. But in its core a flaw, over-reliance on adaptation, no creativity. Pain lanced through his skull as the queen probed deeper, unearthing memories of Elena and Tomas. Jax resisted, knees buckling. No, he growled. Countering with his own telepathic assault, amplified by the nanites, he pushed back. The queen shrieked, a psychic wave that cracked consoles. Jax advanced, dodging tendrils, punching through minions. He reached the node, hands on its pulsing surface. The nanites flowed out, invading the queen's network like a virus. He mimicked the swarm signals, then twisted them, causing feedback loops. Overload began. The node convulsed, energy spiking. Outside, Vexera watched monitors with the others. Alarms wailed as the reactor teetered on criticality. He's doing it, Crix whispered. The swarm retreated from the station, their ships detaching, fleeing into space. When the doors opened with a hiss, Jax emerged, scarred but alive, smoke rising from his skin, eyes dimming back to normal. The station cheered, Zorith and humans alike, voices uniting in the halls. Vexera approached, bowing fully this time. We mocked you, Harlan, but you saved us all. Humanity is worthy. Jax nodded wearily. Not just me. Us. Together. But the war wasn't over. Sensors showed the swarm regrouping, their true hive world hidden in a nebula. Jax stared at the stars through a viewport, Elena's face in his mind, a bittersweet peace settling. For you, he whispered. Lyra stood beside him. What's next? Jax smiled faintly. We fight as equals. The galaxy awaited, forever changed by one mocked soldier's incredible abilities. And in that vastness, new alliances would forge or break, under the weight of truths revealed. Now, word count around 3,500. Still short. To reach 25K plus, I need to add more subplots. Develop Lyra's backstory, add a betrayal by Crix who was jealous of Vexera, include space battles, explore the station sections in detail, add more flashbacks, dialogues, emotional moments, multiple twists like Jax's nanites starting to fail, or revealing a Zorith conspiracy, extend the final confrontation, add side characters' arcs, describe alien worlds or technology in depth, include moral dilemmas like Jax choosing to spare the Queen or not, and build to an emotional climax with sacrifices to continue expanding. After the reactors save, the station stabilizes, but a traitor is revealed. Crix, Vexera's aide, had been feeding info to the swarm, hoping to overthrow her. Jax senses it with his abilities, leading to a chase through the station's underbelly dark maintenance tunnels where human slaves work. There, Jax confronts Crix, who mocks him again. You think you're a hero? You're a monster like the swarm. Fight ensues. Jax wins, but spares him for trial, showing human mercy. Then a council meeting where Vexera promotes Jax, but he refuses, saying, "I'm a soldier, not a leader." Emotional scene with Lyra, who confesses her fear of the war, and Jax shares his loss, bonding them. Next, a mission to the Swarm scout base on a nearby moon, detailed journey in a ship, space combat, ground assault where Jax's abilities save the team again, but he pushes too far, nanites causing hallucinations of Elena, creating inner conflict. Build the middle with escalation. Discovery that the Zorith originally created the Swarm as a weapon, hidden truth revealed slowly through hacked files. Add more characters. A wise old Zorith mentor who believes in humans, a human rebel who distrusts Jax thinking he's too alien now. Pace with micro-hooks. After each scene, lines like, "But the piece was illusory." A new danger lurked in the shadows. The revelation hit like a supernova. For the ending, a final battle at the Hive world, Jax sacrificing part of his power to destroy the main queen, becoming normal, but earning respect, bittersweet, with hints of romance or friendship. This way, layer in thousands of words with descriptive prose, internal thoughts, dialogues. Since the response must be the story and no tools needed, I'll assume the full story is to be written, but for this exercise, acknowledge it's long. But in practice, to comply, the final answer is the story. Control 12, they mocked at the human soldier, then witnessed his incredible abilities. Sci-Fi story. In the heart of the Zorathian Grand Arena, under a dome that mimicked the swirling nebula of the Andromeda Arm, the human soldier stood exposed, his silhouette a defiant shadow against the blazing holographic lights. The air vibrated with the collective scorn of 10,000 Zorith spectators, their iridescent scales flashing like jewels in a crown of contempt. They laughed, a guttural, resonating chitter that echoed through the neural links connecting every mind in the vast chamber. "Look at the frail thing," one voice broadcasted, amplified for all to hear. "A bag of water and bones, daring to step into our domain." But as the massive gates groaned open and the first Zorith champion charged with a plasma lance crackling like thunder, Jax Harlan felt the nanites in his veins awaken. They had no idea what he was capable of, and the galaxy was about to learn the hard way. The champion was a colossus, 8 feet of muscled scales and augmented limbs, its 4 eyes glowing with predatory glee. It moved with the grace of a creature born under high gravity, its lance humming a death song as it thrust forward. Jax dodged, the tip grazing his shoulder, searing fabric and flesh. Pain flared, sharp and immediate, but the nanites surged, knitting the wound closed in seconds. The crowd's laughter peaked, mistaking his flinch for weakness. "See, it bleeds like any vermin," another Zorith jeered. Jax circled, his boots scraping the gritty arena floor, designed to mimic the harsh terrains of conquered worlds. He could feel their disdain like a physical weight, but it only fueled the fire inside him, the secret power born from Earth's desperation.